Now I take the pleasure to introduce Sheetal Vaidya. Sheetal is the co-founder of BMT Support Foundation and has been instrumental in creating the foundational principles of the organization. She is a CS and an MBA in HR with over 15 years of national and international experience in the space of education, disability, philanthropy, and youth empowerment. She now runs Aashwast, a company providing services for senior citizens. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Pranjal. And I think, thank you, Neerad. I think this is the first time that both of us are on screen for BMT. So where I think all of you have an idea of BMT Foundation and how it started. And mostly everything revolves around the patient and nothing wrong with it, because of course the patient is going through a lot more. But as a caregiver, what I have realized through my journey is that the role of caregiver is equally important, because all the stakes and you are shouldering a very heavy responsibility of taking care of the patient through the entire process, which is not just the hospitalization, but also post that. So it begins with the news, like Gayatri just pointed out, that the news comes in, and then the whole process of finding the donor, or how to go about it, and multiple things roll into the life of a caregiver. And you step into the shoes of bringing your head office, which is your head, as and I thank you so much, Hiba, for saying that. So that kind of, if you become very activated to make sure that the patient gets better. And in that process, caregivers often ignore themselves, and we forget that we are human beings, as human as anyone else is, or as human as the patient himself or herself is. So this whole being strong kind of kicks in, and we are too caught up in that web. So what happens is there is a natural space that we assume of being very, very strong and constantly taking care. And I remember having nights where I haven't slept, I was just counting the drops from that chemo bottle because I couldn't sleep, and seeing whether he's alive, and I've done that for months together. So when all this happens, there is this what I feel. And I had a co-caregiver with me, Janvi, who I think is on this call. And so there is a need of more than one caregivers, is what I have realized through the process. You cannot take the responsibility alone. And I am really blessed that Janvi was the stem cell donor as well as the caregiver. So we took turns taking care of Neeraj. However, there is also this space where you get into pangs of fear, grief, depression, like Hiba again was pointing out, and you have no place to talk about it. Not because there is something wrong with it, but because you have assumed that you have to be strong. You cannot cry right now, and people around you sometimes expect you to be positive about it. That everything will be fine. So you may be wanting to just share that piece of fear for which you have tears in your eyes, and they will be like, oh, is the patient unwell? Why are you crying? So it's a very tricky situation there. So where do you go when that happens? How do you sort out that kind of an emotion, or that kind of a pang of fear or depression? Where do you go? And I think uh, it's extremely important that mental, emotional, and physical health of a caregiver is also taken care of. So through our experience of BMTSF, Neerad and I both have spoken to a lot of patients and caregivers about what is to be done as a part of the process. Where one of the things we realized was also having an exclusive space for the caregivers. So we are planning to start a WhatsApp group or circles exclusively for caregivers, where they can come in and just share. There is no solution orientation here, but is there a space where you can share without being given a solution? I just want to sit and cry, and I have a space where I can go to do that. So it's important to create this ecosystem. And I think Gayatri also was just mentioning about how we need this entire ecosystem to work together towards the uh, better health of the patient. So while we are focused on the patient, how can the others look at themselves and also start thinking of, oh, do I need this? Take a break, like, things like taking small breaks. So often the caregivers, and I again, I will quote something that, we would not eat an ice cream just because Neeraj was in the hospital. It was like a sin that, how can I eat an ice cream? How can I be happy if there is a patient who is in the hospital? So all these things need to somewhere come to a space where we understand that if it helps you, if it helps your mental emotional health to be healthy and serve the patient, I think that's the space that we should be creating. And I think so yeah, so we are really open to creating these groups, and this is opened up with this foundation that let's have a exclusive group, not just for the patients but also for the caregivers, also for the people, because it takes a whole community to there is this saying which says, it takes a whole community to bring up a child. And I would say that it takes a whole community to make sure that the BMT patient is well. And that community also needs to be taken care of. So that's where I would probably end and open up this opportunities of how do we create these spaces. And I think going forward, we can have more conversations around this and actually create a space to hold space for caregivers to come in and share freely. Thank you so much, Neeraj, and thank you, group, for hosting us on this today. Thank you so much.